Okay, we want to welcome everybody to the Growth Capital Conference 88. This is in fact our 88th session. We've done 87 previously, and we're going to do 89 on April 27th. We're going to start with introducing myself, Managing Director of Newman Capital and co-chair of these conferences for some time. I've been on both sides of the equation as an entrepreneur and capital source, and had some success in both venues, and I also have some bruises from both of them. My contact list is truly actually about 50,000, including mostly home numbers and addresses and so forth, which we can use in some respect more important than the money, because it gets people sources sometimes for marketing thing. We've used that very successfully in some of our deals over the course of time. This biography in more detail has been handed out to people along with several other things that I'll mention here. One of which again is going to be let me see if I can do this. Gene Massey's biography, and there Gene is going to be your master of ceremonies today. Gene is CEO of Media Shares. He's an expert in crowdfunding, crowd finance. He does internet stock offerings, and he's an internet marketing specialist. One of his proudest achievements was the 7 years with Eli Callaway, chairman of Callaway Golf. Gene did 400 television commercials promoting Big Bertha, the huge golf club, and he increased the sales from 21 million to 843 million in that point in time. So Gene is a master at internet and marketing and media in general. Gene, I'd like Gene to take a few minutes to talk about the kind of investment he does. He does a better job with Reg A and stuff that I do. So Gene, I'm going to give you an opportunity. You can do the featured opening address. Talk about the kinds of investments that you help with.
Do you want to finish with your thing first, David?
No, because I got to go through a whole big thing. No, I'd like you to do it at this point because this really relates to you. Okay. And it fits in very nicely right here.
Okay. Well, I work with entrepreneurs that want to do crowdfunding on Start Engine and WeFunder and Republic and help them walk their offerings through that process and help with the marketing, the offerings on online funding mostly. I've done that for a long time now and know a lot of people in that business. And I have some free documents that I'm going to send to everyone that explains the whole process. Rather than telling you every aspect of it right now, I do have a 15-page document that I give out that explains how you can get funding online using equity crowdfunding. So that's something that I will pass out to you. You can raise up to 5 million with regulation CF and raise up to 75 million with Reg A. Reg CF is relatively inexpensive to initiate. Reg A is a couple of $100,000. That's a mini IPO. You can actually go out and raise up to 75 million in a mini IPO and list on an exchange, actually be publicly trading. That's generally a little bit further along than really early stage companies that have an idea or an unproven concept. But it is a way to have an exit by having a publicly traded listing. With Reg A. That's a little further down the line. A lot of companies do Reg CF to get the first 5 million, and then they've got the money to pay for Reg A and market it. So we help companies with those main two types of crowdfunded offerings, and I'll send you all a document that explains the process, and happy to answer questions and take a call with you and see if there's some way I can help you. And that's about it, David.
Gene, that you illustrate the point that I will make maybe a couple of times here. You're just one of the 14 organizations that we have in what we call our Capital Sources panel. But we could build a conference just around your prowess and the things that you offer. We could do that. We could actually run a conference on any one of those 14 organizations. The angel groups, for example, represent 100 people for Pasadena and about 400 for Tech Coast. So each one of the 14 on that panel represents a huge group of money possibilities just by itself. But we have them all together here and we specialize them, and you'll hear comments from some of them today. But most of the people that are involved there, you won't hear from today because they're in specialties that are not represented here. But they're in the shadow, and some of them are listening, and it will be here because there are in some of the deals that represents more than one of our investor possibilities. So you'll be hearing from some of these entrepreneurs, will be hearing from them just because we've already sent the materials out. Michael Donahue is going to be with us today, commenting on a couple of deals. He's an investment banker. He is our is sponsor of our Growth Capital Conference. He's president of a two-part organization, Columbia Capital Securities and Columbia Capital Advisors. He's former president of the Los Angeles Venture Association. What does that mean? Mike used to run conferences at the Bonaventure that had 2,000 attendees. Their main ballroom would only hold 100 for the luncheon address. So they put 1,000 people. So they put another 1,000 people in the second ballroom and they watched it on TV. So Mike knows everybody in the business. He was also previously with the Securities and Exchange Commission in the Division of Enforcement in Washington, and he was branch chief of enforcement in Los Angeles. So this gives him a tremendous insights and contacts when he's working with people in securities offerings, because he knows the regulatory side of that, having run it himself. Okay, Dr. Kathleen Vinson, general manager of the Institute, has been responsible for our sponsor development. You've got a list of sponsors that we sent to you. Here's it in fine print here, but we sent you a big copy that's easier to read. She's developed these over the course of our 2 decades of activity. And these organizations really are sort of the foundation of what we do. They form a significant basis for the deal flow that we have, but also for the support in terms of some of the things that I will mention here going forward. So in many respects, Dr. Kathleen Vinson has been the godmother of the Growth Capital Conference and the Institute. And if she were here live now today, we would have her stand up in the back of the room and give her a round of applause. So let's give her a virtual round of applause right now. There you are, Kathleen. Thank you very much for your support. And you've done a tremendous job. Okay, let's now deal with another handout that I sent out, the Capital Sources Checklist. Again, you have this in summary. Today, we're going to be dealing primarily with these 3 areas. The angels you're going to hear from, venture capitalists you're going to hear from, and investment bankers you're going to hear from. These are all sources of money, and they're all going to be commenting on some of our deals. These are people that are there are other kinds of sources. We have one of our investors who's is kind of in the background is going to be here today, deals with some of these checklist operations here. These are asset-based financing, and they're on your list. And the government grants, now SBIRs, STTRs, and help from the SBA and the SBDCs are fantastic in terms of support for the entrepreneurship. One of our deals, as a matter of fact, has raised $11 million out of grants. Now, the benefit of those grants is, of course, that you don't need to give away equity. You don't have to pay it back, but it also acts as a tremendous endorsement of your firm. It makes it much easier to get angel and venture capital money having got that grant. So it takes several months, maybe 6 months or more, to get these grants once you get started, but it's well worth the effort. Virtually all of the federal agencies have grant things. It's not just the Department of Defense or the SBA, but you got energy, you got essentially all of them. Transportation, you can get money from any one of them if you got something that's of general use to the industry or to the population as large. Here's some things from our website: the Department of Defense money, SBA help, SBIRs. Here's another thing from our website. You go to our website, you'll find a tremendous set of resources back there in terms of all the things that can help you. Customers and suppliers are 2 great sources of funding and assistance. Customers can help you by giving you a deposit, maybe giving you some angel financing. Purchase order finance is something that one of our investors in particular specializes in. You got a purchase order from a major company and their credit's a lot better than yours, you can get that financed. Product development is something that's not often talked about in terms of a useful customer. We've had some people that have started up their companies primarily by working with one major customer possibility in developing, for example, enterprise software based on the use of in one firm on a time and material basis, no profit, just at cost. So that gives it ends up getting useful enterprise software for the customer, but at the end, it also has a product that the entrepreneur can use. We had to deal one of these with did some enterprise software development for a major insurance firm. And about 5 years later, they ended up selling the product that they had developed and put on the market for several $1 million. They did it with no venture capital money. It was product development paid for by the customer. Suppliers, of course, it can also be a source of funds. They can give you terms so that you don't have to pay them too fast. They can be a source of angel funding. They can be a joint venture. Sometimes your customers are the same as your suppliers. You can do a joint venture to go after them, and they can do an exit. They can help you with your exit. They might buy you just as the customers might buy you. So these two sources are fantastic, maybe in terms of getting out of the deal. The investors always want to know how they're going to get out of the deal once they get into the deal. And if you can show them how you're going to do that, either through a customer or supplier, among others, that's going to get you closer to getting an investment situation. So this is a source of our list. Again, I went through this very fast, but you're going to see it in your handout that we got. It goes into some of these things in more detail. Okay, that was our checklist. Now let's go over David's Big 8. This essentially is an outline of a presentation, and you'll find it sort of followed fairly substantially by the 6 entrepreneurs that we have presenting here today. And they start out, of course, with why are you in business? What's the pain or problem that you're solving, or what's the market that you're going after? And because that's often the question that the investors will ask you if you haven't explained it. Why are you in business? What are you going after? And what is the product and service? This is a thing, of course, that you spend all your time on, and probably too much, frankly, because the investors are interested in that in summary. But what they're really interested in is the next thing. Do you have any customers? And if you don't have customers, how are you going to get them? What's your situation? Because that's one of the two big things that the investors are looking at. What's the other one? Management success. We've often heard on our stage when we were doing it live that we, the investors, are interested more in investing in the jockey rather than the horse, meaning, of course, that they're looking at the management success rather than the product or the venture or the customers that you're doing right now. And if you've had great success in the past, that gets you halfway home. So that's a thing to put, and sometimes you start with this in terms of your presentation. I'll get into that again later. How we make money is essential to have if you can get a good example. You'll find some good examples of this in our 6 presentations today. The best way to do it, by my money, is to give a specific individual example. One of my favorites is to buy shoes from China for $10 and we sell them for $50. That's an easy way to explain how you make money. And you'll find some individual product and customer interfaces that really explain your business very fast on one slide. And look for some examples of that in the presentations today. 5-year financials. This is important because the investors want to know what your aspirations are. Do the 5 years because they want to know what you really expect to do. They won't believe that you're going to be selling quite as much as you explained, but they show you your aspirations. If you're only expecting to be at 2 million in 5 years, you're not going to get an investment. But if you're expecting to be at 50 million, you're going to get a little more attention, even though they may think you're only going to get to 20. So the 5-year financials are an important part of your presentation, especially if you can defend some of them. Asking for the money, of course, what's the investment that you want? What are the terms to the extent that you've developed them? And if you got an exit thing, and you'll find some good explanations of this in the presentations today. How are we going to get out of this deal? Who's going to buy us, or what kind of M&A are we going to do? Because one of the key things that investors are looking for as they get into your deal is how they're going to get out of it. Okay, zingers. These are things that if you can put them into your presentation, if they exist, they're great. Customer pipeline means I don't have too many customers yet, but I've got this long list of people that we're involved with. We have some letters of intent. We have some proposals out there. We've got some things that are going to make us be a lot bigger than we are. That's our pipeline. Recurring revenue. This is a magic one. Once I get a customer, they send us a check every month. It's a beautiful business. Talk to Verizon. Multiple revenue sources mean we have more than one way to skin the cat. If one of them doesn't work, another one might. We've had one of the successful businesses that we raised $1 million for had 2 products. And the one that they really loved was not very successful. But the other one that wasn't their favorite was very successful. And it became the basis essentially for getting the $1 million out of our conference and also for going public. So multiple revenue sources can be sometimes a big advantage. And so these are 3 things that relate to your revenue operations. This is another big zinger. We made money, big money for previous investors. I've suggested to presenters sometimes that they say this before they even go into their product pitch, because this will get you more attention than anything else. We made big money for our previous investors, and we're going to do the same for you investors. That is magic information. We have smart investors. Some of the products that we have explained today, are very difficult to understand. And some of the medical situations, as a matter of fact, are very vaguely understandable. But if you have Mayo Clinic and people like that as your investors, that gives them a great deal of confidence. So people that have less knowledge of your product and never will have the knowledge of your product will sometimes follow people that they know are smart, that they know your feet in place. So having smart investors as lead investors can be a tremendous benefit in terms of going after future investors. Buyer contacted us. One of our deals today has been contacted by 2 buyers. They're not going to be able to talk about it, but it gives you a tremendous prowess when you start to talk about the investors in detail and confidentially. Again, you may still not be able to reveal it, but having an uninitiated buyer contact is very powerful, because if you've got somebody that already wants to take you out, the investors are going to be loving you already. So these are zingers. If you can put them into your pitch, all of them will make you golden. That's David's big 8 in the zingers. Now let's talk about our deal displays. We got 6 of them. You're going to hear from all 3 of these. All 6 of these. 5 of them are actually medical deals, and another one of them is a fantastic video and real estate situation. So these will be all, and they all have considerable traction, either in customer prowess or fantastic investor support already. So
David, Jay joined.
Hey, Jay, welcome. We're going to have a deal for you shortly. Okay, in fact, that leads me to our capital sources panel. Mike Donahue, we've already talked about. He's our sponsor, and you're going to hear from him for a couple of deals. He'll do our 2 closing deals, and then he'll do the featured closing address. Let me look at my notes on some of these now. Bruce Barron is chairman of the Echo Hanover Group. He has financed about $5 billion, B as in boy, over 1,000 transactions, and he's now raising a new fund, so he's going to have plenty of money. Greg Cullen, Harvard Investment Group, you're going to hear from him commenting on a deal. He's chairman of the Harvard Investment Group. He's got considerable real estate expertise and investments, but he's invested in some of our other deals. In fact, he made a major investment in one of our media companies. He invests anywhere from 50,000 to multiple millions. So we're looking forward to his commentary on one of the deals today. Dave Csepel, chairman of Pasadena Angels, which has 100 members. It's a relatively small angel group with only 100, but it's ranked as one of the top 10 angel groups in the country by Forbes in terms of just the quality of what they do. And they have great relationships with Caltech, since they're both in the Pasadena area. We'll hear from Dave in terms of commenting on one of the deals today, representing his 100 people. Pasadena Angels, he's the chairman. Mark Deschanel from Swiss Financiers is sometimes called the angel of Wall Street. And he has, among his accomplishments, he's got 48 companies worldwide that he founded, 169 initial public offerings, 240 private offerings. And he's with us sometimes from Switzerland. Last time he was with us from Istanbul. We don't have the deal for him to comment on today, but he is sometimes with us live and sometimes just in spirit. But he can be with us because we're doing this Zoom from anywhere in the world where Mark is in terms of his international prowess.
And he'll get a copy of these.
I'm sorry?
He'll get a copy of everybody's.
Yes, he will. He'll get a copy, and sometimes he pops in even after the program. David Friedman was recently elected chairman of Tech Coast Angels. He's not commenting today, but he will be, I'm sure, in the future. The Tech Coast Angels has 5 chapters ranging from Westlake to San Diego and about 400 members. And one of the important things is they got 25 venture capital affiliates. So once they invest a few $100,000, they can work with their VCs to get into the next stage for a few million. They're the largest angel group in the US, and they range in investments anywhere from a couple $100,000 to about $1.5 million. Jay Goss is here from Wavemaker 360 Health, which is a major healthcare investment firm. Wavemaker is one of the granddaddies of venture capital in Southern California. And Jay, of course, is focused on healthcare, does seed and Series A. He's on his new round of new larger fund. So he's got some money to spend, and we're looking forward to having him. He's going to comment on some deals today. In fact, he's going to comment on the first deal. So Jay, we're glad that you're here, and I'm feeling much more comfortable than I was a few minutes ago. Richard Greenberg has financed 27 major films to the tune of $700 million. And he's also formed a media company, and he also does other kinds of investment. We may have a deal for Richard in terms of a film that is actually for less than 700 million for our April presentation. So you may see Richard with us for April 27th. Stan Marcus at Capital Business West is an expert in, as the name implies, debt placement and the commercial finance. He's done about 425 financings to the tune of $2.5 billion, B as in boy, $1 billion. Stan is here as a shadow commenter. I've sent him some information on one of the deals because he can really help on one of them, even though we haven't do a dual commentary. He's going to be involved in one of our deals today. And Stan is one of my favorites because he was actually instrumental in forming the Growth Capital Institute about 23 years ago. So we're very pleased to have him back again on our panel and with us all the time. Gene Massey, you've heard about from Media Shares. He does promotions, and he's a great master of ceremonies, and he keeps this place in order. Victoria Marin, Expert Dojo, sometimes is with us. She's their deal screener for Expert Dojo, which is the largest startup accelerator in California. And they plan to do 2,000 accelerations and about 40 investments. So sometimes we have them doing deals. Joanne Miller from SLO Seed Ventures. Joanne founded the Golden Seeds Angel Network in California. The Golden Seeds Network has about 250 investors nationwide, and they specialize in female founded or female managed investments. And so she knows everybody in that space, and she obviously participates in it sometimes herself, but she runs the SLO Seed Ventures, which, as the name implies, does early stage venture capital investing as well. And she sometimes is with us on some of our specialized deals. She has an engineering background. She has a tremendous background in terms of supporting technical companies. Jamie Shorthill has an unusual focus in the sense that his sweet spots include sports and entertainment and food and beverage, which are not on many people venture capitalist lists. So when we've got something in that area, we immediately get him to do a commentary. He's also a partner in addition to the Strand Venture Partners. He's a partner in White Rock, which is in Germany, which is part of our international prowess. So he's with us oftentimes and doing some deals in his sweet space. Stan Tomczyk is with Cleantech Open and Pasadena Angels. Cleantech Open is the largest cleantech accelerator in the country, and Stan runs the LA portion of that. He's also a member of Pasadena Angels. So that's our group. We've got the whole list, and we'll be counting, as I said, we're counting on several of them today. That's our conference. Here's our deals. And the next conference is going to be on April 27. We're going to change our website to read April 27 sometime over the weekend. So submit your deal to us about February 8th for April 27, and we'll be happy to work with you. Don't wait until April 15. You won't get the kind of support that you need. We can work with you and start to get you in touch with money in February after you get to us, let's say by mid-February. Okay, our conference sponsor is going to give our featured closing address. And I think it's now time for Gene to introduce our first company.
Great. Thank you very much, David. And we have Yvonne Bokelman from Alyve Medical. Is that how you pronounce it?
Alyve.
Alyve.
Yes.
Alyve Medical. And Jay Goss will be the commenter on it. And so, Yvonne, I am going to make you the co-host so that I can let you share screen.
All right.
1 second here. Make co-host. You should have the ability to share your screen now.
All right. Can you see it?
Yes, thank you. And you're on. You're on for 7 minutes.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Yvonne Bokelman. I'm the CEO of Alyve Medical. And I imagine you or someone you know has had shoulder pain and or shoulder surgery at some point. Shoulder pain's pretty common, very costly, and actually it's the third most prevalent reason that patients seek out healthcare. At Alyve Medical, we're here to change that paradigm of musculoskeletal treatment. And in addition to treating and solving for shoulder pain, the other musculoskeletal problems that we're solving are the fact that today there are no devices or rehabs or therapies that really provide for retraining the brain and giving you optimal restoration of movement and sustained long-term outcomes. Additionally, among healthcare providers, assessing motion patterns and orthopedic outcomes is subjective and inconsistent. And a really big issue is the compliance and continuity of care. 75% of patients don't comply with the prescribed physical therapy. You may be one of those. I've been one of those. It costs the healthcare system millions of dollars. And in orthopedics, which has exponential growth, we really need solutions that are efficient, effective, and able to be delivered remotely. And we have that at Alyve. We actually have two solutions in this area. Both deploy sensors and patented algorithms. The first is a substantially differentiated NMES, or neuromuscular electrical stimulation device called Neuralign S. As you can see, the gentleman has the device on. He has the companion tablet, which allows for the trimodal biofeedback, which increases that compliance I just talked about. But the real key here is our patented MAS, or motion activated stimulation, which has a dynamic interaction with the patient and really allows for that retraining of the brain, that neuroplastic reaction with the brain. Our second product is a diagnostic tool called Show Motion. It is a sensor kit that allows for the objective assessment and analysis of joint function in just about 5 minutes. It's mobile, it's non-invasive, it provides an instant graphic display for the healthcare provider to utilize in looking at joint abnormality. I don't have time in this presentation to show you actual patient videos that are fairly dramatic, but just to give you a visual, the first two women you see here on the left and in the middle have the Neuralign device on. They're doing their exercises. You can get a look at what that looks like. The gentleman to the right not only has Neuralign on, but he also has the Show Motion device on. You can see two of the sensors on his shoulder. So likely doing both a baseline check and an after exercise check on what he is doing. The products can be used independently or together. We've been really great and lucky with our customer traction without even having a dedicated sales force yet. We're in 250 clinics around the globe. We've done over 30,000 show motion analyses. And as you can see front and center, these are customers that have actually purchased one, both, or multiple of our products. So Mayo Clinic, Johns Hopkins, Cleveland Clinic, Florida Orthopedic Institute, Tulane, I would call out the physician there, Dr. Buddy Savoy, has all of our products, as well as being an investor in our company and currently the president of the American Academy for Orthopedic Surgeons. So a very influential individual. How we make money. Orthopedic surgeons see and hear about this and they instantly want it for their patients. And it's go please have a conversation with my facility, my clinic, or my PT group, and let's get the products on board. We sell the products directly in a B2B transaction business model. The Neuralign system, their premium products, is about $6,000 list price, Show Motion $20,000. We are currently operating at just over a 50% gross margin as a result of that. And one of the things we implemented just in the last few months is a patient rental program. So in addition to having the devices in the PT clinic, being able to send the patient home so they can use the products more frequently, increasing our traction, and of course, providing for that recurring revenue that we really want to see. That is rolled out. We're getting a lot of attention on it. And you can see it's just under $600 a month with a minimum 2 months. The management team is poised for success. We have a lot of individuals who, like myself, have spent decades or longer at big ortho and have done startups. We have about 200 years of combined experience. We've done 7 exits. We've raised over $100 million and 16 acquisitions among us. We have a really good opportunity. Sorry about that. We have a really good opportunity in the market. The orthopedic shoulder procedure growth has a CAGR of 8%. It's the highest in any orthopedic subspecialty. But if you look at us globally, we have a total market in the shoulder of just over 12 billion. You can take that down to a sum of about 500 million over the course of the next couple of years, and some data points about the volume just in the US that we have to sell into. If you look at our sales summary for 2022, our first full year on the market, we did just under 600,000 in global revenue. We continue to ramp that revenue up over the next several years with profitability by next year in 2024. This is a look at the fundraising. You can see what we've done previously. Currently, our ask today, we have an open seed 2 convertible note. It was targeted for $2 million. We've raised 650,000 of that. We'd like to get the rest to bridge us to launching our Series A, which we would like to do pretty imminently over the next couple of months. And very typically, you can see most of that would be spent on sales and marketing, along with some R&D to launch our second product, which I'd be delighted to talk about as well. we have a pretty near-term exit, quite frankly, within the orthopedic sector. It's very active with M&A activity. There were 21 deals done in 2022. I have just some examples of those on the left. The deals there represent anywhere from 18 to 450 million. There were deals in the billions. We know that we are a highly interesting target to large and mid-tier orthopedic companies, and believe that, again, our exit will come very quickly. To highlight really quickly, we have FDA clearance on both products, as well as CE marking and TGA approval in Australia. We're revenue positive with nearly 600,000 last year. We have traction in numerous facilities that are well recognized and purchase our products and have constant evaluations going on to increase our traction. Our gross margin is running between 50 and 60% at this early stage, where we're certainly not at scale. And we have numerous US and global patents. So thanks for your time.
That's excellent, Yvonne. You're 6.5 minutes, and you've got another period with Jay, up to 10 minutes. Jay, could you please comment on Yvonne's presentation?
I'd be happy to. Is it okay if I ask questions too, David?
Yes, of course.
Great. Well, Yvonne, great to meet you.
Hey, Jay.
Thank you for that. A few questions here. I'll start with slide 5. Over on the right, I think that slide is meant to get at what are the economics for the provider. And even if they aren't, that's really what my question is. So I understand what the provider spends with you.
Yep.
But what's in it for the provider financially? I understand the health outcomes.
Sure.
Is the provider doing this as a cost, or are they breaking even, or are they generating revenue thanks to you?
They are generating revenue. So our products are typically delivered via the physical therapist. There are procedure codes that exist today that they can bill. They're typical PT codes. They bill in 15-minute increments. A typical cost to do a Neuroline session is between 30 and 40 minutes. So they make between $60 and $100 when they do that. So they do make money in that regard. When they have patients who are also renting the product, if they follow the billing guidelines, they have the potential to bill the RTM codes as well, the remote therapeutic monitoring codes. I know it's cumbersome. It's not our rules in terms of how the billing goes, but they certainly could use that. And then we've had some physicians and practices tell us that they're also setting up independent programs, particularly with Show Motion and Neuroline in the sports arena, which we didn't have time to get into. And that is, that's more of a direct pay, but also a way that they're making money and marketing themselves.
Are any of your providers having financial success sending the product home and doing the RPM thing?
It's too new to know. We're just in our first and second months of rolling that out, but we have had several express interest that they would try to comply with that and be able to bill for RTM. So stay tuned, we'll find out.
And does it work the same for the shoulder as it does with other body parts, where they have to demonstrate X number of days of monitoring in order to be able to bill the code?
Yeah, RTM does, you do have to do so many days of monitoring, have that live conversation with the patient, all the typical billing guidelines that you would expect, which is easy to do if they're also renting, because what happens is you have that companion tablet. And if you're the physical therapist, you're able to look and know, yes, they completed their protocol, they did all the exercises in the order at the intensity, et cetera. So they have good data there combined with the conversation that they would then have with the patient when they're in clinic once or twice a week.
Got it. And I think I know the answer to this, but your recurring revenue model exists on the patient takes the device home program. But when it comes to using either of the technology, well, not Show Motion, but I think I'm asking a Neuroline system question. On the Neuroline side, you're a buy it and don't continue to pay me revenue model. Is that correct?
So if we were selling directly into the PT clinic, yes, they are buying it. What we're typically finding now is the clinics are coming back. If you're Mayo, you're now on your 5th device because you're spreading it in your clinics and you're using multiple ones, depending on the shoulder volume that you're seeing.
You're out of time now. You're past your time. And Yvonne, Jay is going to be able to look at, you'll be able to continue your communication.
Yeah, I would like to do that, Yvonne.
Yep, me too. Thanks, Jay.
And Jay, if you could stay with us, Jay, you're also going to comment on Matt Handel's ExpressCells.
Yes.
And so, Yvonne, if you could stop your screen share,
I
and
have.
then I will make Matt Handel the co-host. Let's see, where is Matt Handel?
I'm here.
Oh, there he is. I'm looking for your, oh, there it is. Okay, and I'm making you the co-host now. You are now the co-host and can share your screen, Matt.
And I'll do that.
And your time is starting now.
Hi, everyone. I'm Matt Handel. I'm the CEO of ExpressCells. We're a gene editing company, but we have something different. We're raising money. We're making money. We have revenue, and what we're doing is raising money to grow. So when you look at our company, we have a great business model that's been delivering. We deliver 80% gross margins on our products. We have 45 customers and our average contract of $25,000, not including the fact that several of our customers are repeat customers. We've generated about $1 million in total revenue to date, and we own or have a license to US and European patents. So how do we get there? As I said, we're an outsourced gene editing company. We work primarily for pharma companies and biotechs for their researchers. Means no FDA approval is required. We don't fall under regulatory purview. We have our own production facility. We have a small sales force. We have international partners, and you can see the result here. As I said, we have 45 customers. You can see some very familiar names in the big pharma realm, such as Genentech and J&J. You can see some noted academic institutions, and I'll toss in there the NIH as well, and a lot of smaller companies because we have a great value proposition for them. They don't necessarily have the time, people, or resources to do their own gene editing. We'll do it for them. And when we do it, as I said, we're focused on the earlier part of the development process, basic research, preclinical research, work in animals. We are avoiding anything that requires clinical trials or regulatory oversight. We're focused on generating revenue today. We've picked a really great market to go into, CRISPR genome editing. It was a $2.25 billion market last year. It's going to grow to over $6 billion by 2028. We're in the largest segment, which is outsourced cell line engineering. And think of how fast this has grown. In 2012, there was no revenue at all in this marketplace. So with such a big marketplace, how did we get so many customers? Well, it's not always satisfied. The truth is that for a lot of gene editing, especially if you're doing genetic insertions called knock-ins, it just takes too long. And most of our competitors, and even in-house, they can't handle the hard projects. In fact, we have a number of customers who come to us because they tried it on their own, they failed, and we say, not a problem, we can do it. And you don't want the genes in the wrong locations because, well, we're not going to fall under FDA review, our customers will. How do we do it? Well, we use CRISPR, and many of you have heard the word CRISPR. It's a naturally occurring molecule. Think of it as a molecular scissor. It can cut into the genome in your cells, and it can do it at a specific location if you put in some guidance called guide RNA. So we insert our genes using our fast HDR system. For those who don't know what a plasmid is, it's basically custom designed free-floating bits of DNA. I'm not going to get into all the details of how it works. Happy to do so with anyone interested. Just remember 3 things. We're faster than the competition. We've done some projects in 2 months that take them 6 months. We can do difficult projects. We've done triple knock-ins into cell lines. We've done 3 different genetic edits and done it in 1 step. And we do it in a very specific way. We are giving these researchers and these pharma companies the chance to do their job better, to get results faster, and be able to move forward to their own clinical trials. Now, here's an example of what we did. You might say, looks pretty. These cells would be in black and white. We've knocked in 3 different genes. Each one covers a different fluorescent protein. And in this experiment, you can see on the right, this drug, staurosporin, is killing the cells. Would have taken about 5 weeks to do this study without the gene editing. We did it 13 hours. So that's great as a science and as a market. How do we get there? Well, you have to market and sell. Where do we start? A lot of it is online. And we were doing that even before COVID drove everyone online. It's a great way to reach customers. It's incredibly cost effective. Our most cost-effective way of reaching customers right now is Google AdWords. It's a very simple process, but we have about 100 different phrases where we basically will own that search. We have sales. We have 3 manufacturers representatives. Actually, I'm sorry, we're now at 4. We need to have more. That's why we're raising money. We also have distributors. We have 1 in Japan. We have 1 in Europe. We'd like to build more. We go to meetings. 3 meetings are great. We want to raise money so I can go to, say, 8 a year. And we do a lot of targeting. We have a great value proposition for small pharma and biotech. As well, for big pharma, you need to find the right companies that not only have the need, but as we like to say, have the money too. Now, we have a great leadership team. Oscar is my co-founder. He's the inventor of the technology. This is actually our 2nd company together, which I think is important to know. That was a therapeutics company. We decided after that one, the science didn't work. We were going to live in a world where we didn't have to work with the FDA. The rest of the team does a great job. You'll notice Connie Davies, she was with me at Shire. If you look at our financials, they'll be easy to understand. We simply copied what the big companies do. One last thing, quite stable. We've been together as a leadership team for over 3.5 years. That leads to robust financial projections, not just from our current research business, but 3 other areas. More international business, which I think is vital. We continue to build relationships, an expanded product line to include, for example, stem cells, and royalties, because we all want to hear about recurring revenue. We already have some of that, but the best recurring revenue is when we do production quality cell lines. We're raising $3 million. We've got $1.4 million remaining in a priced round. You can see the investors in this current round, a good number of people, many of them were previous investors who know this market and are smart investors. What are we going to use the money for? Primarily commercial. This is not about doing much more science. It's about having more sales reps, going to more meetings, having more promotion. We've had some comparable company exits. Not only are these similar companies, the buyers could be potential buyers for us. And you can see the sort of returns that they've been getting. Just like Firefly Bioworks, we're a small company and we would like to get a nice return. So that's ExpressCells. And with that, I'll take your questions.
Perfect timing. Jay, can you take over?
I can try.
3 minutes.
All right. Well, thank you, Matt. That was cool. A few
Thanks,
questions. One, how does one think about the margin on your revenue? I don't have an instinct as to how profitable or not profitable a dollar you make is.
So best way to think about it, there's a certain amount of fixed cost we need to have. We need to have a lab, we need to have some people, and we need to have equipment. Not a lot of equipment, but enough. After that, the gross margins are great. They're about 80% because the actual cost of materials is relatively low. A bit of cells, a bit of genetic materials, some media. So really, one of our goals is to increase our revenue size because we don't have to increase the fixed cost. And so the marginal revenue on any marginal profit on any product looks great.
And thank you for that. Who do you compete with? And related, how often are you competing with one of your customers' ambition to do it on their own in kind of a DIY type of format, whether they're capable of doing it or not?
Sure. So to the first question, we pay attention to GenScript, Synthigo, Horizon, some of the big distributors like Millipore Sigma. We do have a better technology than they do, but they have more voice, which is why we're raising the money. On the DIY side, we see a lot of that, especially in academia. As one academic explained, he could spend $20,000 on us or $40,000 on a postdoc and then just have the postdoc do whatever he tells that person to do. Little bit different in smaller companies. If you look at, I'll pick on DuPont Therapeutics, great company. They just don't have the people trained to do this. So they look to us to help.
1 minute, 1 minute.
All right, I have 2 questions. Let me pick. What experience do you have so far around expanding revenue inside your existing customers?
We have some very good experience. We continually reach out. When we have happy customers, we ask for opportunities to speak to their colleagues. A good example, if you look at AbbVie, if you have one happy customer, that's great. How do you reach the other 1,000 scientists that they can work with? Separately, we look to be preferred providers at Twist Bioscience. The CSO has decided we're their preferred provider for this type of service.
Great, thank you. I won't get through my last question, so I'll
Go
wrap.
ahead, go ahead, Jay. Go ahead.
Okay, the last question is, slide 13 was a use of funds, but more importantly to me, what does this round get you to? Does it get you to the next round? And if so, what do you need to accomplish in order to raise a $15, $20, $25 million round a year or two from now?
We're not looking to do that. Our goal this time around is profitability. Once we have profitability, we look for two different ways to invest. One is through organic profits. The other is through non-dilutive funding, particularly debt instruments. If you have a profitable company, we don't necessarily have to go after investors, and we already have a couple of banks that would love our business once we're profitable.
Great. I'll follow up with my email in the chat. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Can you stop your screen share for us, please?
I
sir?
will do that.
Okay, and we have next Stephen Foti with Teslake. And Stephen, I believe you are already made into co-host. Yes, you're already the co-host.
Okay, perfect. Let me just share the screen. Did that work?
Yes, we see you. There you go. You can make it big.
Okay, very good. Thank you, everyone. My name is Steve Foti. I'm the CEO at Teslake. Joining us today as well. Oh, sorry. From San Diego is my partner, Lucas Eiserman. Lucas and I met at Medtronic. I was in charge of sales up and down the Eastern Seaboard. Lucas was in charge of product development with 28 issued patents, close to 50 that are pending, and was very prolific with numerous publications. So Teslake is a spine company. We're an OEM. We have an existing emerging spinal portfolio. We're enjoying 45% gross margins with some robust growth. We're getting ready to launch Q2 of this year an antimicrobial platform. We'll be the only orthopedic organization in the industry where our instruments will be impervious to microbes, so MRSA, Staph, E. coli, COVID-19. When it comes in contact with our material, we'll immediately begin to become eradicated. The reason that we're here, the reason that Teslake exists is for our third platform, our robotics platform. We have developed a robust, disruptive way to manipulate the spine, which is going to change the way that spine surgeons are currently operating. So we have a procedural solution when we bundle in the three platforms, our implants, our antimicrobial alloys, along with the intraoperative robot. So the problem is, what you can see on the screen here is the way the spine has been manipulated since medicine started in spinal surgery for 50 years. Literally, the surgeons will get on either side of the patient, they'll grab vice grips, and they're just going to twist and turn and manipulate the spine. It's very violent, it's barbaric, it's uncontrolled, and it's antiquated. So the very first case that I happened to observe 25 years ago when I started in industry was one of these cases. I walked out of that surgery and said, gosh, there has got to be a better way. And so what Lucas and I did is we went to the most premier institutions, respected institutions in the country with the most respected surgeons, Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, Stanford University, Georgetown Medical, University of Chicago, and said, guys, we believe there's got to be another way. Will you help us create a solution? And this is what we came up with. So what you're going to see on the screen right now is historic. It's the very first time that the human spine has actually been manipulated by a robot. So we're not looking to compete with the competition. We're looking to obsolete the competition. So the vice grips are going to go away, right? What you're seeing in the up-hand, right-hand corner of the screen is data collection. So we're creating a data stream. As we manipulate the spine, we're collecting data, and we're going to take that aggregate data, and then we incorporate it into the software, artificial intelligence, adaptive analytics, adaptive algorithms, and then we become smarter and the robot becomes smarter. So that data collection and the data that we collect actually becomes an asset for Teslake. So during the procedure, instead of the vice grips coming out, the surgeon will only come back, cross his arms, let the Teslake robot take over a safe, precise, accurate, 1/4 millimeter at a time. Surgeon directs, and it does the things that human hands and the human brain can't do and never will be able to do. So the feedback that we've gotten from N of 100 surgeons is, hey, let me think about it. No, it's how soon can I get it and get those vice grips out of my OR. So comparable exits and valuations for robotics, especially as it relates to spine. The one that's near and dear to my heart is the recent acquisition by Medtronic by Mazor, $1.7 billion purchase. We believe that the Mazor is a great technology, but what we have is light years beyond what we're doing between that Mazor technology. But the takeaway here is the exits are all in the billions, and so are the valuations. The antimicrobial platform, we're going to launch that here in Q2. Takeaway here is 200 to 300 patients die every single day from infections that they acquired while they were in the hospital, they didn't walk into the hospital with. So the top line there you see is stainless steel. That's the gold standard in the hospital. The investigational devices, that the technology that we have, again, will eradicate any microbe that comes in contact with it, including COVID-19. Spine implants, biggest takeaway from this slide, the modular pedicle screw that we have a patent on. It just so happens that the robot is only compatible with that screw, which is patented. So if a surgeon wants to migrate to the robot, they're going to have to use our implants, and it's going to pull through on that technology to create a recurring revenue stream. Some of the customers from across the country you've heard of: Stanford, Mayo Clinic, University of Chicago, et cetera. Our customer pipeline is full. It's actually a significant challenge for us because we have more demand than supply. So we're walking past a lot of business that we could have realized. So our numbers should have been, although robust, should have been better than they actually are. So that's one of the reasons that we're raising capital. The recurring revenue that we're going to have from the robot, we project that there'll be 100 to 200 procedures typically per robot. Procedural revenue, 4,000 to 5,000 per case. So it's going to be a little under $5 million per robot that we launch. Historical revenue in 2021, we grew at 83%. Last year, 170%. Again, demand was outpacing supply, so it should have been even higher. We're going to see an uptick in 2023 when we launch the antimicrobial platform, and then 2026 we'll have an alpha launch with the robot, and then you're going to see the real hockey stick growth with full launch of the robot in 2027. We think we can do it faster depending on how quickly we can raise capital. Some of our patents and publications, numerous. Capital requirement, we raised 1.9 million so far. We need to top that off with another 500,000. We're going through convertible note round. Again, increase the inventory to address the demand. Filed additional patents on the robot. We have 3 ready to go. And then some working capital. So the convertible note round, 20% discount, 12% interest, and a $15 million valuation cap. And I think that's it.
Perfect. Dave?
Steve, good job. Couple of quick questions that came to mind. First of all, the 12% interest, that's kind of high, which is fine, but I just it's a little higher than what we're used to seeing, which is great. So your money making right now is just on the screw. How long did that take to get through regulators, or how long did that take to bring to market?
So 2 questions here. As far as the approval, typical approval is 12 months or so, depending on the FDA. It's a moving target. As far as breaking into the market, that's the ongoing challenge. So we went through an alpha stage where we had to, really kind of refine the instrumentation and get it to where it really is now. I would say the reason you saw such a big uptick in growth last year was because we really have what we consider a rock star degenerative system for the bread and butter cases, because we refined the instrumentation. So it took us probably, after the approval, maybe another 1.5 years to really get the system to where it is today.
Okay, that's not a long time. And I see your customers, the hospitals you're working with, are mostly in the Southeast or Louisiana specifically, or?
No, so we have New Jersey, Chicago, Florida. We have 12 hospitals throughout the country that are in the process of bringing on. Again, so the demand is outpacing the supply. We just don't have enough sets and instrumentation to bring them out to. We got a hospital in Dallas that is going to get started with us. I'll be down there next week. So yeah, it's throughout the entire country.
Okay, so Lucas, I see, was with Medtronic. Do you feel like, or you or Lucas, do you feel like you have enough salespeople, or are they surgeons that need to kind of be in the OR with and go to these hospitals to kind of show them how to utilize what you have right now?
Yeah, so great question. The answer is no. We're using a network of independent distributors that we've developed relationships with over the world. That's the good news, is that you can penetrate quickly with them. The challenge is their attention, because they're independent, so they might have they might sell a hip and a knee and spinal equipment. When you have direct organizations, obviously you can control, and there's more myopic focus. The challenge is that, to have direct employees, it's very costly. So all startups in the orthopedic industry and spine industry start the way we do, with independent distributors. And then as you grow and you scale up, at some point you draw the line in the sand, and then you take on a direct sales force. So right now we're in a hybrid. So in probably 2020, end of 2023, we'll have direct managers that work with the independents, and then slowly bring the independents on as direct as we continue to scale up the business.
So is it a type of thing that you have to be in the OR to show the surgeon how to utilize, or how to use?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that that to me would want to run to that inside sales.
That's it. That's it on the time, gentlemen.
Yeah. I've got a few more questions, but I'll follow up with you offline, Stephen. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for your time.
And Steve, if you could stop your share. And we will go next with Jason Schwartz and VidTech.
Gene, can you make Evan Brandt the share? He has the
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for Stephen to stop his screen share.
Did that work?
I'm still looking at your screen there. So
yeah, I'm seeing the stop share. So here it is. No, it's stop video. It says new share.
let's see. You
At the
want to
top,
stop.
there'll be a red box.
There you go. Perfect.
Sorry about that.
Okay, and then we want to go with Jason, and who is the other one?
Evan Brandt.
Evan. Okay, Evan, I'm making you the co-host. Don't let the power go to your head.
I'll try not to.
We are rolling, gentlemen, and we are starting your time now.
Good morning. My name is Jason Schwetz. I'm here today with my co-founder, Evan Brandt. I've spent the last 3.5 decades in commercial real estate, everything from acquisitions, dispositions, finance, management, and development, leasing, primarily purchasing commercial assets across the country. As a result of doing that, typically what we find in this industry is what's called an offering memorandum, which is outdated. So in my travels across the country to search for properties, I hired a pilot to fly a property for me in Louisiana back in 2018. And as a result of that, we produced what was called a VIDIM, or a video offering memorandum. That was going to be used for my own purposes until other people in the industry started seeing what I was doing and asked me if this could be done for them. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my co-founder, Evan Brandt, to go through the deck.
Thank you, Jason. Good morning, everybody. Today I'm going to tell you about VidTech and the really strong foundation that we've laid over the past 4 years, and why a $2.5 million investment will really help us grow to the next level. Rather than tell you about our product, I'm going to go ahead and show you our product. What we're looking at right now is what we call a VIDIM. This is revolutionizing how commercial real estate properties are marketed and presented throughout the industry. We're looking at 3D satellite footage with infused data points that tell exactly what is most important to that transaction or that presentation. We're looking at the trade area right now, zooming in closer and closer to the asset, getting down to the city level view, telling exactly what is important to a potential tenant, potential buyer, potential investor, or the dozens of other use cases that we have found. We're showing a superimposed site plan of showing exactly how construction will take place for this development. And now we're going to drop down and transition from 3D satellite footage into drone footage. You'll notice that we outline here a 3D model to show exactly what that project could look like once it's been developed. Our videos see a 67% playthrough rate, so we captivate our audience for over a minute long compared to just a few seconds with a traditional offering memorandum. With respect to time, I'm going to go ahead and fast forward here to show you our second product. The first product there is called a Vidium. This product here is called a VidSpection. We're still going to utilize drone technology, but rather than market or present an asset, this technology is used to inspect, monitor, or manage commercial assets. We see this used commonly for property management companies, construction companies, insurance, or legal purposes. So we're going to inspect the asset here using very specific shots from the drone that allow a property manager to reduce the need to visit the asset and rather focus on their core business, which is tenant relationships. You're able to see things with the drone that you absolutely could not see with the human eye. So again, with respect to time, I'm going to go ahead and pause that. I'm going to tell you about the problem that we're solving. Commercial real estate is inherently visual. You need to see the asset. Exactly the property condition and the surrounding area affect the value of that asset and its leasability. Commercial real estate is seeing globalization more than ever has before. We're seeing transactions happen across borders, which increase the need for travel and going out to visit those assets before the transaction is completed. Video offers a solution to that problem. However, our industry has seen a major lack of video solutions. Commercial real estate is definitely a laggard industry, with technology coming far behind residential or other markets. Our solution is standardized video at scale. We cover North America and 9 countries in Europe, where we offer a consistent process and affordable prices for the video content that our industry needs. We currently have 2 product suites, a marketing presentation suite, as well as an inspection suite, which I just showed you. We've been in business for just over 4 years. With that time frame, we've accomplished an incredible amount. We've done over $4.6 million in revenue with that 4 years, and we're servicing the top clients within our industry. That includes the top commercial brokerages, JLL being the largest commercial real estate brokerage in the world. The second largest listing platform, which is Crexi, right behind LoopNet, is our core partner. We also service some of the largest construction companies, logistics, insurance, gas and convenience store chains, some of the largest landlords and REITs, railway companies, as well as roofing companies. We have an incredible lifetime value. In commercial real estate, we see professionals stick around. They stay in the industry for an average of 20 years. Our repeat clients purchase on average 6 times a year within our Vidium suite of over $1,100 for the average ticket price. Our VidSpection lifetime value is even higher. The VidSpection is an incredibly sticky product. We have some clients that use that product every single week for the properties that they manage or own. Greater than 40% of the clients that we've acquired have repeat purchased. The opportunity in front of us. In 4 years, we've serviced just 2,000 of the commercial properties out there. That has produced $4.6 million in revenue. On average, we have $2,300 of revenue per property. There's 54 million commercial properties in the United States alone. We're already servicing other countries, Canada, Latin America, several countries in Europe. So we know that number is significantly higher as we expand to other territories. A 5% market share of the United States properties would equate to $6.2 billion in revenue. I'm going to talk here in a moment about our investment plan. Primarily, though, technology allowing us to increase our current margin from 10% to 70% through the automation of video creation.
6.5 minutes.
This is our investment plan, primarily being that investment into technology and sales. Notable, we have not invested any dollars into marketing yet today, so a significant portion of these funds will go towards that. We have the leadership team we need to continue to execute and grow our business, with Jason with decades of commercial real estate experience, our CTO who has exited a prop tech company to one of the largest solutions provider, RealPage, in the past. And I'll go ahead and pause there for questions.
Gene, am I unmuted?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Evan, Jason, thank you for your presentation. I've spent decades in the real estate industry, so I can certainly see how this could be a very applicable and very useful tool. I'm going to try to spend most of my time making some comments. I noticed that David and Gene have changed the format. In the past, you were not allowed to ask questions, but I'll ask a question since it seems to have changed.
Yes, go ahead.
A couple. Number one, where are you based? And first of all, where are you based?
We're based in Westlake Village, California.
Okay, so Los Angeles area.
That's correct.
And in this model, it looks like you have two different products, one for to assist in the sales effort and one to assist in the management effort. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And in the sales model, who writes the check?
Typically, let me expand upon that. It's not just the sales. The Vidium itself is used for any kind of marketing, whether it be for raising funds by a sponsor who's looking to raise funds, or someone who's looking to finance their property or sell their property, or for brokers looking to lease or sell the property. We produce a Vidium for that. Typically, the buyers themselves are the clients themselves is either the broker or the property owner, one or the other.
Got it. Well, let me just say, I think I've seen thousands of offering memorandums in my career. I have seen drone type presentations, more on websites. This is a very, it's a new, as you said, in real estate's a laggard industry. This is a new way of presenting it. I think it's very clever. I think it will catch on, and I think you'll be able to certainly make a mark in the industry. How big you'll grow and how fast you'll grow is a question that I obviously you'll sort that out. But I think it's a very clever solution. I think it's kind of labor intensive, and so I then think about the investment, right? I mean, you're here looking for money, $2.5 million. It's impressive to me that you've done, close to 5 million in sales, and you did over 2 million in sales last year. At an average ticket price of $1,100, that's 2,000 Vidiums. That's a lot of production. So the margins are small right now. So from an investment standpoint, I'd really need to understand how those margins are going to grow so I could repay my debt. If you're only making $2 million, making a few $100,000, $2.5 million is going to take forever to get paid back. So I'd have to understand how you do that better, obviously, as an investor. I would also point out in your equity raise, $2.5 million. What jumps out at me is repaying the old debt. I really need to understand why the venture people who are in there are asking to have their money paid back. That's a question we could talk about offline, but that would cause me pause as a new investor when I see old investors getting out. I'd also want to understand, it seems like you've got a very capable management team. I'd want to understand your commitment in terms of your financial commitment to date and going forward with this company. And finally, I would say, it would seem to me there are a lot of obvious strategic partners who would jump on the bandwagon with you and potentially write a check to help assist your efforts in capital raising.
Yeah, we're over.
Very good job, guys. We're
over time here. So gentlemen, if you could stop your screen share, and we will go to Evan Unger and NuvOx.
Thank you, Greg.
And Evan,
You're welcome.
You're already the co-host.
Gene, can you make me a co-host as well?
Yes, we can, certainly. Let me fix that for you. You're also the co-host now.
Yes. Let me share my screen.
And
Can
I
you
am
guys see
going
my
to,
screen?
yes, and I am timing you starting
Hang on
now.
One sec, let me. Go ahead, Evan.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to present. Good morning. We are NuvOx, Novel Oxygen Therapeutics for Fatal Diseases. I am Evan Unger, CEO. The technology came from my first venture, the world's first and #1 selling injectable microbubble contrast agent. The unmet medical need is hypoxia or lack of oxygen. It is the root cause of more mortality and morbidity than any other, applicable in cancer, stroke, acute respiratory distress syndrome, heart attack, and others. Our solution is Nano2, nanobubbles emulsified liquid in a vial. After simple IV injection, it increases oxygen in hypoxic tissue within a few minutes. We are entering into phase 2B trials in brain cancer and stroke and have various preclinical programs. In oncology, as shown in the graph on the left, tumors generally have 1/10 of the normal oxygen pressure as normal cells, but radiation, chemo, and immunotherapy all need oxygen in tumor to work. For example, radiation tears oxygen into singlet oxygen radicals to kill tumor, and it requires a 3 times higher dose to kill hypoxic cells. The graph to the right shows our product can immediately increase tumor oxygen. Therefore, we are used as an adjunct treatment to improve standard of care. In stroke with blood clot, brain tissue begins dying gradually. There are often mismatches of dead tissue and at-risk tissue. This mismatch is called the penumbra, where there is still a small amount of blood flow, but if not preserved timely, it will die. Standard care, whether it is TPA or surgery, takes time. Nano2 can be immediately administered to preserve this penumbra. We check all the boxes for a de-risked and high-returned profile. We can refer to over 2,000 human safety data. Nano2 delivers 1,000 times as much oxygen as conventional liquids. Effectiveness has been shown in 35 patients in brain cancer and stroke. We're potentially regulated as biologics, which gives 12 years of market exclusivity. We also have orphan drug designations with 7 years market exclusivity, as well as a strong patent portfolio. We have a strong management team and strive for greater than 10x ROI within 2 to 3 years. Our phase 1B/2A brain cancer trial had 11 subjects and showed a 5-month increase in median overall survival and 40% improvement in progression-free survival. To put it into perspective, temozolomide, when it was approved, only had a 2-month improvement in survival. Our phase 1B/2A stroke trial had 24 subjects and showed significant improvement in functional independence. FDA allows us to do a phase 2B stroke trial, and the UK government is granting us £1.5 million for a trial in up to 150 patients. Here are our exciting preclinical programs. While we are laser focused on our clinical programs, we leverage partners' research in preclinical programs and own the resulting data. Our developments fall into 3 categories: oncology, neuroprotection, and respiratory restoration. The chart shows the high-level plan and timelines. Brain cancer and stroke are active in phase 2B trials. The sequence of these programs is based on regulatory strategy while leveraging scalable operations on the back end. Our market is massive. Serviceable addressable market shown as peak revenue is more than $20 billion, assuming 10 to 20% penetration and standard of care pricing. We are protected by 8 patent families, 7 issued US patents, and foreign equivalents. We expect to file new IP for a critical excipient to secure another 20-year runway. We have market exclusivity by being a biologic and orphan drug, and have significant trade secrets with in-house clean room infrastructure and exclusive control of unique raw materials. We are entering into phase 2B, 87 patient in glioblastoma this quarter. Further, we plan to obtain accelerated approval and hope to use phase 2B trial to market. After approval for glioblastoma cancer indications. In 2023, we will start the 150 patient trial in the United Kingdom, leveraging the non-dilutive funding. We anticipate adoption hurdle to be low due to simple IV administration. Plan for reimbursement will be similar to current standard of care. In addition to strong management team, we also have independent board where board members not only help us to establish public company-like governance, but also to open the doors for us for investors. Further, we have seasoned SAB members, both formal and informal, who are crucial in advising us through regulatory and clinical strategies. We are incredibly capital efficient. To date, we have only raised about 10 million in equity, 5 million plus in kind, thanks to my work in the building, which I own. Large amount of non-dilutive funding, half is still open. We are raising a 5 million bridge. Over 60% has already been raised. Combined with non-dilutive funding, it will enable us to complete brain cancer and stroke phase 2B trials to propel multi-$100 million exit. We do plan to start institutional fundraising later this year and/or explore capital market opportunities. Being a platform technology with multiple assets allows us to be extremely flexible and strategic about exit. Currently, we're mainly focusing on a 10x exit in the next 2 to 3 years. By then, we will complete successful phase 2B, GBM, and stroke trials. And with good regulatory strategy, we can speed up to market. If we and the investors are ambitious about multi-billion dollar exit, we can do so as we develop other assets.
7 minutes.
Hopefully, by now, we have told a compelling story about NuvOx. With that, I am happy to address any questions. Thank you.
This is Michael Donahue for comment. Michael, you need to unmute yourself.
There we
Okay.
go. Is that
Now
working?
you go. Now you're on. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, good. Well, that was a excellent presentation. This is a hugely important technology that you're developing, and I mean, this is something that involves life and death, literally. And and I think you did an excellent job in this presentation. But this presentation is a huge challenge because you've got multiple different indications and treatments in different stages of development and different situations, and trying to get all that out in a matter of 10, 15 minutes is a huge challenge. I think you did a very good job, but I would work on trying to get this a little more distilled down to the major points so that the listener can walk away and remember the main things you want them to know, because of the purpose of this type of presentation is not to close people, obviously, but to get them excited enough to want to follow up. So that's the only comment I would have is maybe a little more top line major points without trying to go into too much detail, because you have so much to cover in such a brief period of time. So, but anyway, this is a compelling opportunity and a very important project. So I think it was very good.
Yes, and Evan, you and Michael will be able to communicate more later. And could we ask you to stop your screen share? And then we will join Anil Asrani with TearSolutions. And you will also, Anil, Michael Donahue will also comment on yours when you're finished. And I will start your presentation when you're ready. Are you ready?
Are you seeing the slides?
I am.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. we're starting.
All right. Well, first of all, thanks very much for the opportunity to be here today to tell you about the exciting journey that our company has been on, TearSolutions. This all really began when our founder, Dr. Gordon Laurie, who's a professor of cell biology at the University of Virginia, discovered a novel human protein, which he named lacretin. We've got independent peer-reviewed publications that have found that lacretin is missing in all forms of dry eye disease, which is one of the top reasons that someone goes to see an eye care professional and represents a $6+ billion market. So TearSolutions science has really been supported by 13 million of non-dilutive NIH funding. We've raised about 25 million to date, and that's been to complete preclinical work and a first-in-human study that really supports our thesis that lacretin is to dry eye disease as insulin is to type 1 diabetes. If your body is not producing it, then you have the disease and you're going to require chronic replacement therapy to management. So in short, we believe we have the insulin of dry eye disease. Now, at a high level, TearSolutions is a clinical stage biotech. We've got first-in-human clinical data, robust and growing IP, and a clearly defined clinical and regulatory path with formal written FDA alignment supporting an unrestricted general dry eye indication. And that's for our lead product. For those of you who are not familiar with dry eye market, that's the same path that a dry eye drug called Xiidra went down, which sold to Novartis for $5+ billion. So, lacretin was essentially discovered using a screen of the tear proteome. And the goal of that screen was to find out what was missing in dry eye tears as compared to healthy normal tears. And the answer is lacretin. That's been, like I said, independently confirmed and published by leading experts in dry eye. Now, Lacropep, which is our product, is a peptide that's derived from lacretin. It captures the active binding domain of lacretin, preserving all of its bioactivity. And that bioactivity and preclinical pharmacology is well characterized, but it's beyond the scope of what we have time today. But from what we've seen preclinically and now clinically, Lacropep is rapidly repairing and regenerating the ocular surface, even in the presence of extensive inflammation. And only 3% of patients studied reported any discomfort using our drop. And our therapy is working in a majority of our targeted patients. And for the clinicians in this space, they know this better than anyone. There is nothing, whether approved or in the pipeline, that comes close to this kind of overall performance. And as far as the dry eye market goes, it is a large and growing market, but the current solutions take too long to work, and that's if they work at all. And they all have high rates of unwanted side effects because they are largely immunosuppressants, and they don't belong in the eye. And that's what makes Lacropep so different and so attractive. We are simply replacing what is missing. And in doing that, we're solving for the underlying pathophysiology of dry eye. Now, what we're showing you here on this slide are all the major components of the lacrimal functional unit. Its sole purpose is to keep the tear film optimal. And why is that important? Because the cells of your cornea are avascular. They have no capillaries to supply what they need to survive and thrive. So the tear film plays that role. The tear film is essentially clear blood for the cornea. And if you were to think of the lacrimal functional unit as an orchestra, then lacretin is the conductor of that orchestra, as it's made by all the cells and glands highlighted here in green, and its receptor and co-receptor complex is on all the cells and glands outlined in blue. And here you get to see the speed and the power and the promise of Lacropep's restorative properties in a photo that comes from our preclinical work. Here you can see a heavily diseased corneal surface on the left, as evidenced by the staining. And after just 3 weeks of treatment with our therapeutic, Lacropep, you can see a completely healthy corneal surface on the right. Now, this is preclinical on the left. That's what got us so excited about our first-in-human, which is on the right. And what we learned from that first-in-human experience is that we can hit a statistically significant improvement in an FDA approvable sign and symptom. Both of those are required for FDA approval. And it's impressive that we were able to do this in one study, because if you go back to the Xiidra example, they were not able to do this. So to summarize our clinical trial, we are effective. We've got a best-in-class safety and comfort profile. We know our clinical population, our endpoints, and our dose, though we do plan to optimize that dose in our next trial. Before we talk about the next trial, just want to highlight a few things about our company. As I mentioned earlier, in addition to the funds that we've raised in the past, our science is supported by significant non-dilutive NIH funding. Early on, we attracted an investment from Santen, which is a leading Japanese ophthalmic strategic. We've got ongoing collaborations with leading institutions like Harvard and Berkeley. And recently, we've been chosen to present at highly selective ophthalmic conferences. As for next steps in our trajectory, with our first in human behind us, we're currently raising $10 million to get Lacquerpep back into the clinic to conduct a phase 2 trial. That trial will be done in a general dry eye population, which is the large commercial population that really drives valuation. And here we're sharing some of the details of that patient population that we'll be studying. They're all, of course, informed by our first in human study. As for timing of future milestones, we're planning to start our next trial this summer. Top line will come back in early to mid 2024. If all goes as planned, we could be looking at an exit either right after this trial or after phase 3 trialing. Regardless, we anticipate commercial launch in late 2025, early 2026 timeframe. All this work is being done by an extremely talented team. We've got the right set of experiences to succeed. For example, we have Jim Cook, former head of R&D from Johnson & Johnson Vision's consumer eye health business, who's leading our development. And we've got some of the same people who brought the most trusted laser and LASIK to market on board as well. Obviously, the real foundation for our company is our founder and chief scientific officer, Dr. Gordon Laurie. He discovered Lacquerton and set the wheels in motion for us to deliver Lacquerpep to the market. As it relates to our historical valuation and fundraising, here you can see a compound annual growth rate of about 20% in our share price since 2015. As for our current raise, we've attracted the venture arm of another regional ophthalmic strategic, and we've soft circled $3 to $4 million of the $10 million raise from them, as well as current investors. Based on dry eye market comparables, a 3x risk-free return is possible in the next 12 to 18 months, with a 10+x return possible with risk-based milestones.
7 minutes.
That's it. Just to share, we've got a lot to be excited about here at TearSolutions. We really feel like an investment here represents an opportunity to get in on the ground floor of what may be the insulin of dry eye disease at a time just before our next big value driver, which is our upcoming clinical trial. Thanks very much for the time.
Thank you, Anil. Michael Donahue.
Okay, am I unmuted?
Yeah, you're
unmuted. We hear you. Yes, sir.
Okay, good, excellent. Excellent presentation, good materials, and you've got a great team. A really compelling story that you should have a very competitive product on the market. A couple things I would like to see. I'm sure you covered it. You covered a lot of data in a short period of time, but I didn't quite focus in on it. Be good to know exactly how much data do you have at this point on your major claims. You've been through phase 1, I presume. You don't say a lot about it, but it'd be useful to know how much data actually do you have backing up the various claims that you have. And I got one question about I don't know anything about dry eye, but the people who have it, is this something that they have for a lifetime? Is it bother them all the time or just some of the time? The reason I'm bringing that up is that is this to what extent do you got a recurring revenue when you get a patient or doctors prescribing this? Is this something that the patient needs to take repeatedly for a long time or forever, or what's the situation there?
Yeah, so I'll handle the two things. So on the first in human, we have, yes, that's right. We did a phase 1/2 study. Our next study would be a phase 2 dose ranging study. That first in human was 204 patients. And that was the data that I shared with you, where I showed that we were able to hit both a sign and a symptom in one trial. As far as the chronic or acute use, it depends on the patient, right? So there are definitely patients out there that have chronic dry eye, and that's the moderate to severe patient population. Those are the ones that are going for prescriptions, which is what we're on the path to. The nature of that disease is it's chronic. It can severely affect the quality of life of these folks, often leading to clinical depression and also sometimes suicide. The reason for that is, imagine having lemon juice in your eyes and feeling that every day that you wake up. So that's really chronic, severe dry eye. There are acute flares of dry eye, and again, with the speed that we have in terms of our efficacy, we can handle both. We can handle we can be a steroid sparing product to handle acute flares with a safety profile that no steroid can meet, and we can also be a chronic solution for chronic dry eye. But really, the point here is, Mike, this is a protein that is missing in all forms of dry eye. That has been independently validated in the DEWS-2, which is the leading experts in the field. We own the foundational IP there. It was our founder's discovery. And all we're trying to do is get back to healthy, normal levels of lacretin. And that appears from the data that we have in animals, as well as now with humans, to solve a host of these problems associated with dry eye.
Very interesting. Very interesting opportunity and a great presentation. Thank you very much.
We're over the time, Michael, but I'd like to comment on this because my wife has a severe dry eye because she's using Vyzulta as to treat her glaucoma, and you and I will have a conversation later about this. And let me tell you, if what you have is as good as it looks, you've really got something. You've got something that's worth, several $1 billion. But my wife is very doubtful about it because she's a real expert. She's one of these people that has gone and studied every aspect of. She corrects the ophthalmologist on things. You know what I'm saying? She's that smart about this.
Well,
and so
I could tell you, our founder has been studying this molecule and this mechanism since 1995, and it'd be a great conversation to have.
Yeah, we'll have a good conversation with her, but I warn you, she's very, very skeptical about anything like this, and she's an expert on it. She knows more than most doctors about this. Because she's she does a lot of her own research. Yeah. So it could be a very interesting conversation. Now, Michael, we want to turn this back over to you because you are our sponsor today. And we want to tell a little bit about Columbia Capital. You want to take over for a second? We've got time now.
Sure, I'd love to. I'll make it short because it's getting late in the day. But I'm the president of Columbia Capital Securities. We are an investment banking firm, a SEC registered FINRA member firm. We raise capital for companies in private placements. We are very active also in helping companies go public. We have a lot of connections we don't do public offerings, but we have a lot of connections with the underwriters who do, particularly the small underwriters doing smaller IPOs and early stage IPOs. It's easy to go find a major underwriter if you're a major company, but if you're fairly early stage, it's a lot more difficult. And in the life sciences, the public company route is a very, very common way of getting financing. A tremendous number of life sciences companies are taking the public company route at a very, very early stage. And what we do is we guide companies on that and help them find the right underwriter. But what we mainly do is private placements. We focus on raises of between 3 million and 100 million. The sweet spot is like 5 million to 20 million, and have a broad range of different types of companies we work with, but some specialties involving life sciences, technology, media, and entertainment. So that's Columbia Capital Securities.
Great. I'd like to thank, I'm going to turn it back over to David in 1 second, but let me tell you, this is one of the best ones I've seen, David, for such a great group. These are really very, very good presentations and very, very good investment opportunities, I think. And I'm going to be calling a lot of people, that's for sure. And so, David, do you want to say a few words in closing?
Yes, just a second, a couple of things that Michael pointed out. I think he was a little bit reserve. One of his sweet spots, if you look at his tombstones, is the pharma area. And he has on his staff just experts that know the technology as well as the money sources in the pharma area. And so, and the two presentations that he commented on, NuvOx and TearSolutions, are both looking for investments in the range, in the multiples of 10 million, which is exactly Michael's sweet spot. So I think you people have found each other. Part of the reason we're having the excellent array of entrepreneurs is that with Zoom solutions, Zoom presentations, we've expanded our scope. If you look at the 6 companies, 2 of them are in California, but the other 4, I'm looking at their street addresses. One is Arizona, one is Colorado, one is Minnesota, and the other is Philadelphia. We were still doing this live at the Olympic Collection. I doubt that we would have any of these 4 people coming out to do a 10-minute presentation.
Yeah, but I missed the free breakfast, you know.
I know, but I'm going to send you breakfast. I'm going to send you some eggs. Actually, I just got a gift here. Somebody who might be presenting next time that's making something you could do for breakfast, made out of mushrooms. We're going to get some. We're going to move out of life sciences into movies and food, I think, for next time. You know, on that score, those of you in the audience that are considering possibly getting with us for a future program, April 27 is our next time. We work with the individuals here that presented, and I'll speak to both of you, those of you that presented and those of you would be presented. We work a lot after the program, to some extent before the program. All of you have had your key information put out to at least to the people that are commented on you today, and in a couple cases to additional individuals that did not comment but that are in your space. So you follow up with me. Give me time to come up for air a little bit this afternoon, but starting on Friday, we'll be doing additional support in terms of following up and doing additional support with the people that aren't commented to you. Keep me involved also to the extent of at least copying me on your initial emails. I don't need to be involved in all the final investment discussions, but as things go in terms of your comments, not just with the people that commented on you today, but additionals, give me a copy of it on the initial emails, and we can also get some additional support. As I say, we will be passing out to all of you that commented today, all of you that entrepreneurs that were here today, our full array of 14 organizations. You'll have contact information on all of them. And if you approach them politely, even if they're not specifically in your space, you might be surprised to see the kind of support they'll give you, maybe some contacts that are not specifically in their organization. And with the heavy influx here of medical care, everybody's got medical problems. And the people that are running these organizations all have medical problems. And I speak from my own experience. So you'll get some sympathetic support in terms of the solutions that you got. And they all know other people besides the ones that they're involved in. So good luck. Any other last minute questions, particularly from our 6 entrepreneurs in terms of where we're going from here? Okay, we're going to be giving you good support. And again, the people that are interested in April 27, wait until about February 8th or 9th and give us a submission. And we'll look forward to supporting you in the way that we have these folks. And we'll see you in about 12 weeks.
Thank you all. I'm going to end the meeting now, and we really appreciate everyone coming. Take care now.
Thanks for the opportunity.